Hello and welcome to this, the Crypto Club and Digital Assets Weekly Catch-Up on Zoom. It's Sunday the 3rd of November 2024 and lots of things in the news at the moment with the upcoming US presidential elections about to be decided in the next 24 hours or so, and that could have an impact on crypto markets. We hold these sessions every Sunday evening, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. UK time. Never quite know what we're going to talk about, so do stick around. Sure, there's going to be something of interest. Do remember to click on the like, the subscribe. Even better, come along and join a future session. Topics we cover depend upon the audience and who shows up, but quite often we'll talk about blockchain, layer 1 and layer 2 protocols, Bitcoin, Ethereum, sometimes privacy coins like Zcash and Monero. We talk about regulation, central bank digital currencies, even though they're not strictly crypto. Sometimes we get to talk about DeFi, NFTs, ICOs, STOs, the metaverse, lots of other things, really. So with that, let's see who's going to come and join us today.
Hello, Gary.
Hey, Gabriella.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you this evening?
I'm good as well. What about your week?
It's been okay. But busy waiting to see what happens in the US with the upcoming elections right now.
Exactly. What I was thinking, yeah, the same. I think this is the main topic right now, worldwide, yes. And
Yeah, definitely. Because you got the thing that certainly Trump seems to be pro-crypto and Kamala Harris seems to be generally anti-crypto. So it's
mm,
been interesting looking at the price of Bitcoin this week.
yes, in
Where,
fact, I was watching a news that's about crypto holders could determine the US elections. Plus
okay,
Michael Saylor.
okay,
It's visible upset. Yes, so let's see what happened.
yeah, yeah. Certainly, it's going to be an interesting 24 or 48 hours. Watching the news.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh, mhm. So let's see what happened. And another important topic that I would like to ask you last week was about the BRICS.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, you remember it was, I thought that last week was a summit BRICS in Russia.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, right? So, what do you think that the, if I'm correct, the dollarization, that's correct?
Yeah. Certainly, if we think about, I mean, for anyone who's watching or listening who's wondering what BRICS is, first of all, so this is the group of countries. So Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and
Mhm.
a number of other countries now as well.
Yes, and
Um,
I think that maybe as well it would be Egypt and UAE and Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So we take a look, and as you say, there was the summit last week. And the key thing really is that the BRICS are establishing an economic system which is separate from the US dollar based
Exactly.
world. And as it's growing and growing in its importance, then that makes it a competitor to the US dollar being effectively the world's reserve currency. Now, what's also interesting about that is that there has been some talk about the BRICS creating their own, effectively a cryptocurrency, or
Yeah.
their own central bank digital currency, whatever, of a common currency that could be blockchain based and could take on the US dollar for international trade.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's very interesting indeed. In terms of what actually happened and what they talked about, I don't know if they actually went into the crypto side of things or the alternative currency. I was just taking a look at they've
If
actually got
I am correct,
yeah,
Putin, it
mm,
was embracing Bitcoin.
okay,
Yes. And on the other hand, as you told, they are, but I'm sure that they still made something, a common cryptocurrency, exactly as you told. I don't know, let's say maybe a BRICS token, I don't know, but
yeah, yeah. It's certainly a possibility. I was just checking the site on the latest news. It didn't seem to immediately mention anything there, but it's interesting. the Russians have been putting off making any firm regulation or legislation or anything around crypto for many years.
Mm-hmm.
The Russian, is it Duma, the parliament? They were meant to be issuing crypto guidance several years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
it just never happened. And so it's interesting that you're saying that you think that Putin is Bitcoin friendly.
Right now, Gary, but I mean, not only Putin. I thought that it's time politics and leaders are embracing Bitcoin,
Okay.
because I think they are looking that the US and the governments are embracing as well and are adopting Bitcoin, Gary, at the end.
Okay. I think it's certainly possible. I just noticed there was a news item that came up. I'd say says about exactly this. So BRICS to leverage cryptocurrencies for secure investment payments,
Mm-hmm.
which would put them as a kind of a competitor or an alternative to the SWIFT network. So for
Mm-hmm.
anyone who doesn't know, SWIFT is the worldwide banking network where payments take place between banks,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a membership owned organization, if I remember correctly. It's actually the banks who own SWIFT and operate it. And it's how most payments are made. And so the BRICS are certainly talking about establishing something. They've got something here. As you say, Putin announced incorporating digital assets into their payment systems. So
Mm-hmm.
that could mean, an alternative to the SWIFT network. And if that came about, it would be a way for the BRICS nations, first of all, to be less reliant on the US dollar in any way, but also to circumvent any US-driven sanctions. So Russia, in particular, is subject to sanctions. China, I think, is at times subject to some sanctions. I know South Africa many years ago was. So the argument is that if the BRICS nations had their own payment system, they'd be less affected by US-led sanctions. So yeah, it's interesting. And as you say as well, other countries are becoming to be involved in this. Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, the UAE. So it's
Yeah.
definitely growing in interest. So
Mm.
yeah.
So, and what are your thoughts about how this could affect to the global economy? Because
Um,
I understand, but how could it affect the meaning of exactly of the dollarization on that case? Do you
so
want?
yeah, my perspective on it is that fundamentally we've operated for 100 years or whatever on the basis that most countries have their own currency, or if they're in the euro, it's part of the euro. But multinational inter-country trading has typically been done using US dollars. What this now does is it provides another payment mechanism which isn't dollar based, which reduces worldwide dependence on the dollar, which weakens the US really in terms of its control of things. So the very fact that their impact of sanctions would reduce means that they'd have less of an influence. So the Americans aren't going to like that because they've got a whole military government and all sorts to support a US dollar backed global economy in effect. So I think it could have quite a dramatic impact because it would remove the monopoly that the US has at the moment on international payments. So I think that could be quite powerful.
Mhm.
Now, what will actually happen, and whether it will be crypto that they do that or digital assets or whatever, I don't know right now. So I think there was some talk about them potentially adopting an existing blockchain platform in some way,
Yes,
which would be
an exacting blockchain, I think. Yes. Hmm.
yeah.
but they will create a cryptocurrency.
Well, this is where, again, it comes down to, this is the argument about things like central bank digital currencies. They don't
Mm-hmm.
need to be a cryptocurrency as such. They just need to be a digital asset. And a digital asset is not necessarily the same as a cryptocurrency.
Okay.
It may be. So Bitcoin is an example of a digital asset, which is a cryptocurrency. But you could have a traditional database-based digital asset, which isn't blockchain-based and isn't a cryptocurrency. It's just digital. I mean, ultimately, if you think about what money is, cash is issued by a government central bank. They issue a finite amount of it. It's got serial numbers on it, and it's in theory not duplicatable or easy to counterfeit. The more modern way of thinking about things is where effectively you have a central register of who owns what, and you don't need cash anymore. So this is where the concept of central bank digital currency comes in. That doesn't have to be a cryptocurrency. It just could be.
Okay.
Does that kind of explain in any way or give any
Yes.
thinking around that? Yeah.
Yes, I was thinking just about the exactly difference between digital asset and digital currency. It means, but you can pay with a digital asset because Bitcoin is a digital asset and currency as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you can pay with Bitcoin.
So think about this in terms of how regulators
Okay.
define these things. That might help. And each regulator might have varying definitions. You've got a concept like a simple digital asset. So a photograph, a JPEG image or a video or some music. That is a digital asset in a way. It's digital. It's made of ones and zeros, and you can potentially sell it to somebody else. So that's a digital asset.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's one thing. Then you've got something that is accepted for payments in some way, and that's where enough people will accept something in return for buying something, selling something, and that has an accepted market value in some way. So a photo of me is a digital asset which isn't really worth much, and I would probably pay more for it than what someone else would pay for it, if anyone would pay for it. E-money, so electronic money, which is digital money, is something where enough parties have agreed as to the value of something. So now you've got a digital asset, which is a currency, or it's now money. And there are regulations around what's known as e-money or electronic money. So that's different to a digital asset, even though they may overlap. Then you've got a cryptocurrency. Well, a cryptocurrency is something that is part of a blockchain. So, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dash, all of these, which is where enough people agree that they'll buy and sell it and they trade it in that. But it's got no legal value against it. The only value of a crypto is that there's a marketplace for it and enough people agree to buy and sell it, which fundamentally is actually not that different to any other currency. €1 is worth €1 simply because enough other people believe it's worth €1. And it's the same with Bitcoin. Bitcoin at the moment is trading at, what is it, just under $70,000, $68,000. Simply because enough people want to buy it at that price, enough people want to sell it at that price,
Yes,
which
but
makes it
but
tradable.
fiat money is a digital currency as well.
Mm-hmm.
Fiat, no?
So fiat can be digital. Most fiat money isn't, or rather, sorry, that's actually wrong. You've got different forms of money. You've got cash,
Exactly.
which is physical stuff. Actually, cash is a very small proportion of a country's economy.
Hmm.
The vast majority of trading, payments, all that kind of thing is
Digital.
it is digital. You're right. It's
Exactly.
electronic in some way. Yeah. So
If
sorry,
it
Sue,
is
we've just been joined by
electronic,
Danny. Sorry, I wanted to just say
oh,
hi,
sorry.
Danny. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hey. Well, welcome aboard, Danny. We're just chatting about the differences between crypto, digital assets, I guess central bank digital currencies, money, e-money, all sorts of things, and the potential impact of BRICS as well. So the Brazil, Russia, India, China, and so on, and the potential alternative market. Gabriella, I don't know, did we cover that in sufficient detail for you?
Me?
Yeah, yeah. Did you still have a question on that?
I mean, for me, it's okay. It's just look, about the digital currency. I was telling you that that fiat, I think, is a digital currency as well.
It's traded digitally, yes, but there's no at the moment there's no kind of like central electronic register of
Yes.
exactly what digital currency.
Hmm.
So yeah, you're right. You know, when you buy and sell things, that's all done digitally, unless you're using cash. But
Hmm.
we don't, strictly speaking, have like a digital euro, a digital pound, a digital dollar as
Really?
such. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Danny, you're going to join in there.
Yeah, yeah. I like this discussion you had because it's true that there are no cash anymore, or even more less than it was before, and everything is digital. That's correct. But the difference between the digital coins like Bitcoin and the other ones alike, they are they're supposed to be anonymous and safe, and that's what you can't say of the digital money you have in the banks. Because if I lose my pass, I anyone can and my pin, anyone can pin on my pass because it's not safe. And that's not the same with blockchain technology from now on.
I find it's interesting that you're saying about crypto is anonymous. That's probably one of the biggest misunderstandings that people have, because crypto isn't truly anonymous. It's at best what's known as pseudo anonymous, which means
Mhm.
it's not obvious. It doesn't say
No,
Gary paid
correct.
Gabriella €100 type thing, but there are ways of tracking and trace it. I don't know, Danny, as well. Whereabouts you based? What's your interest?
I'm in Holland,
Okay.
in the Netherlands, and I, I every time I look at your WhatsApp, I see buy, and then I think, well, let's join today because
Great.
today is with the election and so on, and I'm interested in it. So that's why.
Great. Well, welcome aboard. So we've got Dan in the Netherlands, we've got Gabriel in Spain, we've got me in the UK. So we've got quite a European blend at the moment. So that's good. But there was something else you were saying about crypto as well. You were saying about how it's anonymous, whereas it isn't quite anonymous. It's kind of pseudo anonymous. Um, but you were saying as well about bank accounts and how your money can be hacked and all that kind of thing.
Mhm.
If you lose your PIN number and this kind of
Mhm.
thing. Kind of similarly, if you were to lose your private key for your crypto wallets
Yeah, but
or your seed phrase.
you can. I got the I got the ledger.
Mhm.
So whenever I use the ledger, it's always safe. If I lose this, nobody can touch it.
Nope,
But that,
not quite true. So if somebody got your seed phrase
yeah,
or they got the private key, they don't need that physical device. This is something I find really interesting. A lot of people think that the crypto physically sits on the device in some way. It doesn't. all it is that the key to it does. And if you can get hold of that key in a different way, you don't need that device.
No, but you have to do some trouble because I can't lose the key like I lose my pass.
So it can
That
be
easy.
it's something I always urge people to be very cautious and careful about this. So if you write down your seed phrase, when you first created your wallet, you'll have created, there'll have been a seed phrase, like a 24-word phrase, randomish words. If you printed that out somewhere and then someone took that seed phrase, they could recreate your private key.
Yeah.
Which means they could then take money from the wallet's address. Yeah. So they don't actually need that physical device. It's just something people just need to be mindful of that. That's all. But
there's more security around it than the 4-digit PIN I got on my pass.
So the 4-digit PIN just gives you access to the wallet, doesn't it? To the device. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. And then once you're in the device, it's the private key that secures the access to the. Yeah.
It's more security.
Yeah. So if I have your seed phrase, I don't need your 4-digit PIN.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
You can restore it on another device. Yeah.
Correct. And it's something I just mentioned it to people in case they're not aware of these things, because sometimes people assume that you need the physical device. So I know.
Correct.
Yeah, I've known people literally who've they've got a ledger or a Trezor or any other hardware device, and they actually store it in a safe in an underground vault in Switzerland.
No need.
Exactly right. Yeah. So it's always interesting on that. So, but there are other devices where you do need a physical thing as well. Some of the multi-factor products. You do need the physical device. Some of them you don't. Some of them are recoverable. But it's certainly, I'm always interested in what people think in terms of relative safety. Because the other thing as well, people don't generally realise when people say things like "I've got money in my bank account." So certainly for a lot of European banks, definitely for UK banks, it's not your money in a bank account. And this is something that really surprises people.
They do a lot of things with it.
yeah, that's right. So that's interesting. Hey, we've just been joined by Dan as well. Hey, Dan.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Hey, good, thanks. We're just having a general chat about crypto and digital assets.
I keep missing this every week because I'm normally in a car driving either from Camberley to Oxford or Oxford to Cambridge. I thought, right, I'm at my folks actually, which is not just down the road from Cambridge. I thought, right, even if I get halfway through, I'm joining. So there we are. And I mean, we've had a lot of fun, haven't we, on the Fight Club and the other various groups. So you notice I stay out of the political bits when it gets all a little bit too political.
That's why in the various WhatsApp groups we now have fight groups, which is specifically to let the conversation go elsewhere, and some of us who want to stay sensible.
Absolutely, but I do like that. At least I think, I'll read your bits because I know they're very good. I leave JT and the others to just do their whatever.
Yeah. Dan, what's your interest in crypto then? What brings you along?
I'm just like most people, I'll be honest. When it started all those years back in, the sort of 2010, 2011 period, and people were like, oh, what's all this all about? And then I guess sort of into about 2013, 2014, we're a bit more aware of things. And after that, we got into the whole blockchain debates and what have you. And I obviously had friends who speculated. And between us, in fact, one of my friends, unfortunately, in 2022, you won't believe this, he lost $1 million in this world. And he got stung. I mean, honestly, I won't bore you with the story, but it's such a sad tale that somebody so bright that worked for one of the biggest banks that we all know, left the bank, now doing various entrepreneurial things, was operating in this arena, and lost £1 million. So it just shows you that even people who are bright and smart can still be caught out. So My view is, I just like to keep learning between us. I like to just keep abreast. I don't pretend to understand all of it. Yes, I may have some knowledge in technology, and I work within an AI defense firm as well. But this world of crypto, I honestly think so many people underestimate it. And even if they are aligned with very bright people, I'm still surprised that they don't do enough research. There's almost oh well, they've done it and he's done it and they've done well out of it. Jump in, and I just hate that sort of strategy between us. I don't. So I'm constantly reading stuff. That's why I read all the stuff you put on the various chats there. Very useful. But yeah, having friends who've lost money, you can imagine that's put a lot of our other friends off now. They just don't want to go there. But that's not the way to think. I think the way to think is, okay, it's a terrible event, but whether we like it or not, this world is here. And, the fiat system and all the rest of it that we've known and grown up with, it's over there.
The way I think of it, I spend a lot of my time in the insurance sector.
Yeah.
And the insurance sector is all about things going wrong.
Yes.
The only difference is, as an insurance company, you're thinking about how to make money out of things going wrong.
Yeah.
But things do go wrong. Whether that's accidents, mistakes, fraud, criminal activity, military activity, whatever.
Yeah.
There is a constant array of ways things can go in ways other than what you expected. Either because you've been manipulated, you've been hacked, you've been exploited, you've fallen for the old idea that do your own research means read what someone else has written instead of actually doing your own research, and falling foul of those things. So yeah, I'm absolutely with you on that. And that's one of the reasons why I set this group up originally. It was to provide education and knowledge and share insights and findings. And also because when I first got into it was quite a scary marketplace where no one really understood what was going on. So that's good.
Well, this is it. And you've been to, I'm sure you must have been to meetings and you get these invites, especially from law firms. You go along, and I won't mention the certain names, but the usual suspects. You go along, you have your croissant or coffee, someone does a little chat, and you sort of think, okay, I didn't learn anything today. Who can I go and talk to who can tell me a bit more than what's already in the Financial Times or bits and pieces that you'll see in Bloomberg? You know what I mean? Who can piece all of the jigsaw for me? And does that make sense?
Yeah. And in fairness, I think that sector is maturing. So that there are a few names, certainly in the London legal world,
yes,
who I will happily name if people say, who knows about this? That there are definitely certain people who actually know what they're talking about.
Well, I'll come to you the next time. Is this what I should go to, Gary? You can go yes or no.
There are a few names that definitely who I can recommend because they do actually know what they're talking about. And also a few of them have hosted events for me where I've run physical meetups, and that they have, exactly as you say, they've provided the croissants and the wine. But they have definitely led the way in their understanding, and they've written some good thought leadership things. They've been involved in things like the evolution of things around law society and their position. So there are definitely a few who.
Well, you need to know, don't you? Because the thing is, there's a few that I think I thought, great, I'll go along to this, and I sort of come away thinking, okay, good speaker, and a nice venue and all that good stuff, but the knowledge piece, the reason I was actually there, hasn't been enhanced. It hasn't gone up. So I think, by the way, I'm still happy to go to speculative things. I don't always expect to get an instant, nugget of gold, but when you've done a few and you think, okay, do I go to any more now? It's one of those, isn't it?
Completely agree. I see JT's joined us with a new avatar. Hey, JT.
Hi, guys.
Come on, tell us the story about it. Share the story about the animation then, JC. This looks a bit
I
different.
was trying it on Zoom. That's all. I never tried it before.
Okay, yeah. Is that a new built-in feature then, is it? It's not like an NFT you've created?
I don't know. Look, I got an update to your Zoom before joining the call. I did, and then I saw these options. So.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Is this where you find that you're about to appear in a court case and you now can't change your avatar?
Probably.
That was the case on, was it a Zoom or a Teams call, I think, where
Yeah,
someone was on a council meeting or a legal case and they couldn't actually change the avatar and everything. So
Wow. Imagine that.
that was a bit embarrassing. JT, as you're on, you're always got your finger on the pulse with news and developments and that. Anything of interest you've been hearing in the crypto world of late?
Well, the only thing was this last week was the return of the king with Binance Week in Dubai. So looks
Okay,
like he's returned. He was there. I wasn't there, by the way, but I know people were.
Okay.
And it was the return of the guy,
Was that CZ?
Yes, is it?
Yeah, but so he's been released, which is good.
Yeah, he's been social already in Dubai, from what it looks.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So I don't think he's involved with Binance anymore. I don't think he can.
Okay.
But people said he was quite approachable in terms of he was talking about the new Binance, not Binance, the project he's doing with education. Yeah.
Okay.
I think his education in for Web3 and crypto and AI, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Fair enough. But interesting. So you didn't hear anything else that came out of the Dubai week then? Any new news announcements?
No, not really. I've just been busy on my projects, so
Okay.
just flat out on it, basically.
Fair enough. Let's go back to Danny then. You're saying you're over in the Netherlands, that kind of thing. What was your particular interest in this? Is it around blockchain or crypto or something else?
My interest is in all that kind of new technologies since the last decade.
Okay.
Because I work in the IT and I like to be educated in the new techniques that are coming up. And I noticed I work for the government and noticed that they don't work very much with blockchain or that kind of techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a shame because I think with working with blockchain can give you some sort of safety in your data. They do.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I was about to say that's really interesting because I know that I keep seeing cycles of interest in blockchain.
Mhm.
And one of the ones I've been seeing lately again is governments and organizations around supply chain and source and product traceability and that kind of thing. And I seem to remember the Dutch, it may not have been the Dutch government, but it may have been somebody like DHL, who are quite heavily involved in logistics. And I seem to remember they were doing some experimentation around blockchain a while ago. There were a couple of projects on that. And also Rotterdam with Europort. I thought there was some trial going on there as well. Again, traceability, containers, that kind of thing. I find it fascinating because every few years, a new group of people appear who come up with this incredibly new idea as though it's brand new. Hey, why don't we use a blockchain for supply chain or traceability? Or I saw it that there was a colourful article in one of the UK colour glossy magazines yesterday, which was around luxury goods being on the blockchain and being able to track and trace. I think it was Louis Vuitton. So some of that kind of level of tracking and tracing their products on the blockchain. And I find it quite funny because I've seen so many examples of this now, and whether it's government supported or industry supported of, hey, let's use a blockchain for this because it's a great idea. And then it dies away after a few years. So,
Yeah, correct. But I find the DHL company not very quick and honest about delivering the things. So I think the blockchain is still needs some working.
yeah. Well, this is where I still think for many things it's an experiment for
It's
many
still
organizations.
Still experimental. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know, Dan. From your perspective, do you get directly involved in any of this stuff, or is it just as an interest or a hobby type thing?
I think for now, it has been more of a sort of an interest, only because I'm saying some friends of mine who I thought were certainly deeper into this world than myself, seeing them make these quite substantial losses, it certainly made me think, wow, not that I would have been better than them, let's be honest. It's just what surprised me is that these are people who actually were quite senior in the banking world. So we're not talking about people who weren't sort of very high level, professionally. And I'm one of these people that thinks, well, actually, technology is constantly evolving. What was going on last week can be obsolete this week. We're now in this moment, aren't we? Where things are moving at such a rapid scale. It's important actually to make time, to do, as you said, do original kind of research rather than just go, oh, I've done my research. I read the latest piece in the FT or, whatever, or The Economist or, one of those, which, by the way, they do excellent journalism, but, I think that's sort of not doing enough, if that makes sense. That's sort of slapdash research or homework, as we used to call it. It's quick.
It does feel at times, it's funny you were talking about law firms not really giving any benefit in terms of you're not learning stuff. But I've seen similar with, as you say, some magazines who've published articles or some consultancies who've published things. And you start getting the feeling that actually all they've done is they've said to ChatGPT, please write an article on this topic. Write a 1,500 word article on choose that subject, and it is interesting when you read some of the articles. It's either recycled or whatever. A lot of it isn't really groundbreaking or new, and that's why I find fascinating being a member of many WhatsApp and Telegram groups, seeing the real innovation that's coming through, and then seeing the people who are going, hey, I've just heard of this really new thing called blockchain, and I've come up with this incredible new idea to use it for doing something. So, yeah.
Well, you mentioned about the supply chain. You probably come across that company, Circular, and a friend of mine, Eugene, works there. I've known Eugene for many years. He's ex-PA Consulting, a really good guy. And I remember when he started telling me about them doing, check the provenance of materials all around, globally, back in, I guess, 2016, 2017. And he was saying to me, it was amazing, go and talk to firms and they just sort of say, yeah, thanks for the chat, next. he thought it'd be a really good thing that people would really want to know. And they would say, great, love the chat, but maybe not for us at the moment. But thankfully, Volvo took up the baton, so he's been working with them for many years now.
But what you tend to find is that most companies are willing to experiment, to explore and learn, but actually to migrate. So there's been some really interesting large-scale projects. So Maersk Shipping is one I used to use. They were involved in at least two major projects I know of. One being with IBM and TradeLens. I seem to remember the project, which was to do with trade finance and tracking and tracing cargo containers and all this kind of thing. which sounds brilliant,
Yeah.
but was a real challenge trying to get companies to adopt it as part of that supply chain. And this is where you start discovering that all because it's a nice, shiny new technology doesn't necessarily mean there's enough of a market demand for it. And so with TradeLens, I think one of the challenges was because it was supported by Maersk Shipping, who are a massive shipping operator, that kind of put off other companies who are in that space, who are effectively saying, well, this is kind of making us part of the Maersk distribution network, which we don't want to do. Or it was very expensive or whatever. And I've seen that with a few other projects as well, where great idea, but insufficient commercial attractiveness to go into it. Yeah, so InsureWave was another one, again, a Maersk related project about insuring ships and that kind of thing, which is fascinating area. And again, that didn't quite gain the commercial interest. And then a few years ago, AXA, and I happen to be mentioning these because I know the insurance sector quite well. AXA launched a flight delay product called Fizzy. And Fizzy was one of these insurance products where you could insure yourself against delayed flight, and it used smart contracts to pick up if your flight had operated on time, automatic payment. So it was very similar to what a European startup called EtherRisk developed. And EtherRisk actually did flight delay assurance. It wasn't really insurance, although they did eventually sell it through an insurer. And Fizzy, which was AXA's product, they ran that for about 12 or 18 months and then wound it down to say, well, that was an interesting experiment, but we didn't find sufficient market interest in it, so we've killed it. And that's sometimes things. So sometimes.
Did you see Lloyd's? I've got their lab, this Lloyd's lab. You've probably seen they've created.
So Lloyd's Lab 13 is underway at the moment with a mixture of technologies. I was involved with one of the very first cohorts that went into the Lloyd's Lab originally, which we were looking to use blockchain for claims handling and radically change the claims experience. So I've done a fair amount of work with Lloyd's over the years. And in fact, I actually led the innovation program on what was called the target operating model with that a few years ago, where we actually ran a series of projects to explore using blockchain technology to support the insurance market. So if you want to chat about that separately, I could.
That's really it's great. It's great because I mean, although I've not worked in the sector for a long time, I started my my career in insurance after I graduated. So even I haven't been in it for years and years. It's just it's like, you know what it's like once you've been in a scenario or a sector for a while, it just stays with you. So you're just always interested in what's the latest thing. How are they doing? What do they do to underwrite these days? What are the technologies around it? And I think Lloyd's Lab, I mean, when you see them, you think, okay, right, now the big boys are very serious, aren't they? They're actually, it's not just another thing over there. They're bringing it in-house. They've got their own. That's when you know it's serious.
Yeah. I've been to a few of the pitch days. I was at the pitch day for the latest cohort that's been selected. So always interested.
So you've got the true insight there, Gary. Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I've got a fair insight. I used to work for a Lloyd's of London syndicate.
Fair enough.
So I know a fair amount on the underwriting side. So.
You know the business model very well. Then.
Excellent. Coming back to the crypto side, I don't know if anyone's got any other anything they'd like to share or any questions or anything, just to open this up, really. This is a great thing about these sessions. We end up talking about all sorts of things. It's just whatever people want to talk about, really.
Yeah, I don't know if it was today. It might have been today. There was a note. I don't know if you wrote it, Gary, just about the people factoring in, the outcome of obviously the most important election this year and the Bitcoin price. I think you mentioned a 10% adjustment. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I think it was about $73,600
Yeah,
last week.
yeah,
It's now I think 68. I think it
yeah,
is. So it's something
yeah,
like a 10% drop.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Uh, and it's interesting as well. I think the reason I mention it in a few groups
Mm.
is simply because that drop kind of correlates with the growth. If you look at like platforms like prediction markets, like Polymarket,
Hmm.
it ties in with the growing share that they're saying Kamala Harris has. So yeah,
Yeah,
so last week it was, what was that, 73,000, and it's been dropping away,
yeah,
you know, day by day. So it's
yeah,
now back at, what is it, 68.6. So yeah,
yeah,
well, what's that? It's about 10%, isn't it?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
just under. So it's a remarkable thing, isn't it? In the world of crypto, 10% is not a big deal,
Mm.
which is what makes it fascinating and scary at the same time.
Mm.
But yeah, so this is where it's going to be interesting in the next 48 hours
Oh,
to see
absolutely.
what happens next. So we shall see.
It's funny because I was talking to my pops today about the when it was Trump back in 2015, before he won. And
Mhm.
in those days, I was actually spending quite a bit of time in the US. So I was, I was in New York a lot, Boston a lot, and also down on the West Coast, down in LA on a project we were doing in San Marcos. And it was really interesting watching the news in the States and flying back here and watching, BBC, Sky, the usual suspects. And I was saying to my colleagues here, I was saying, look, the thing is, in the States, the way the discussion is framed, it's all about who doesn't like Hillary, you know. I was trying, and they all thought, you're mad. Everyone here is saying she's guaranteed a win, and I think you could still get odds of 5-1 on Trump, even on the Friday before the. And a couple of friends of mine actually did bet as a result of what I told them. So of course he won, and I got a nice crate of wine. But the thing is, Gary, if I hadn't been in the US, I'm sure I would have been very much in the, gonna have the first woman president here.
I found it fascinating. I'm not going to keep on topic of politics for too long, but I was in Atlanta just after Trump was elected last time.
Yeah.
I was at a conference, funnily enough, an insurance conference, where I was
Yeah.
talking about blockchain
Yes.
in the insurance
Yeah.
sector.
Yeah.
And a group of Americans asked me what I thought about the Trump election. And I said, I think it's great. And they said, what, you support Trump? I said, oh, no, that's irrelevant. I think it's great because it stopped us talking about Brexit for a while.
Oh yes, of course.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
moving
Moving swiftly on.
moving swiftly on. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, just the final thing probably on the election is that there is likely to be some sort of potential impact on the crypto markets, depending on who gets elected. My prediction is it'll be something different from what we expect.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are saying, well, if Trump gets elected, that's crypto will go up, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's exactly the opposite because people have already been speculating. So we'll see how that goes anyway. So
yes.
Okay,
yes.
well, look, if no one's got anything else of particular relevance or whatever, then we'll probably call a halt a few minutes earlier. Try and finish these calls on the hour anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And some weeks we end up talking about all
you do
realise
next week, Gary, we're going to be here for 2 hours at least. You do know
that. It'll be, hey Gary, do you remember you said if such and such gets elected? Absolutely, it'll be interesting.
You do know that.
Well,
I'm delighted to have joined you finally.
Well, it's great to have you and Danny joining us. It's really good. And Gabriella and JT, thanks for joining as always. I hope to speak to some or all of you next week, and let's see where the crypto world goes. That'll be an interesting thing. So
yeah, have a great week, everyone.
Folks, have a great week. Look after yourselves. Bye for now.